The corridor smells of citrus disinfectant and copper. A market roars somewhere beyond the wall. 1,000 species, 1,000 languages, 1,000 small lives passing through. And then, one sound that does not belong. The sharp percussive crack of a blade clearing its sheath. 40 light-years away, a wheat field moves in the dark. A small house on the edge of it. A kitchen window. A candle set on the sill and hands that have lit candles in windows for 100 years. And a woman in bare feet who does not yet know why she is awake at 3 in the morning. Closer now. Down the corridor. Past the running boots. Past the screaming. To a man in a gray janitor's uniform standing very still between 8 curved blades and a small hand that has just slipped into his. He has 8 years of believing he could not matter. He has 12 seconds left to decide. Part 1. The blood pooled around Eli Whitlock's boots. Slow, dark, spreading like spilled coffee on a kitchen floor. He swayed, but did not fall. 8 figures circled him. Crimson scales, curved blades, the air thick with the smell of his own copper. Behind him, a small voice was crying. He did not turn around. He could not. If he turned, the child would see his face. And he did not want that to be the last thing she remembered about humans. So he kept his eyes forward, and he stayed standing. 12 hours earlier, the ship's chronometer read 0500 when the soft chime woke him. Same time every morning, same gray uniform folded on the same gray chair. Same hum of engines through the bulkhead, a sound so steady it had become silence. Eli sat up, rubbed his eyes, felt the small, familiar flutter in his chest, the one the doctors had a name for, the one that had cost him his life, or what he used to think his life was supposed to be. He glanced at the digital frame on his bedside table. It cycled through 3 photos, always the same 3. His mother on the porch in Nebraska, hand shielding her eyes from the sun. His sister in her graduation gown, gap-toothed and grinning. And him, 22 years old. Shoulders back, wearing the recruit uniform he never got to keep. 8 years ago now. Felt like yesterday. Felt like a different man's life. The console beside the frame began to chime. Sunday call. He smiled before he answered. He could not help it. Hi, Mama. Oh, my boy, I caught you. Ruth Whitlock's voice came through the speaker thick and warm, like a quilt fresh from the line. He could hear the kitchen behind her, the percolator, Scout snoring under the table. You always catch me, he said, because I time it. You think I don't time it? I know you time it. Smart boy. He leaned back against the wall, closed his eyes, pictured her there, standing in the screened porch with her coffee, hair pinned up in a way that had not changed since he was small, the light coming in slant through the honeysuckle. How's Scout? He asked. Slow, stiff in the mornings, same as me. You're not slow. I'm slower than I used to be, Eli. You're not slow. She laughed, the laugh he had carried with him across 40 light years. Your daddy fixed the porch step. Finally. Took him long enough. Took him 12 years, but he did it. Did he say anything? He never says anything. But he did it. But he did it. A pause. The kind only people who love each other can hold. The tomatoes coming in, he asked. They're starting. The Romas. The brandy wines are slow this year. They're always slow. They're always worth it. You sound tired, Mama. I am tired. I always am. Doesn't mean anything. Another pause. He felt the tug behind his ribs. He missed her. He missed her every Sunday. But Sundays were the worst, because Sundays were when he remembered there was nothing he could do about it. Eli. Yes, ma'am. You remember what your daddy used to say? I remember. Tell me. Mama. Tell me, son. He sighed. He smiled. He said it the way he had said it 1,000 times. Always stand with the small one. Always. Even when it costs you. Even when it costs you. Especially when it costs you. Yes, ma'am. That's right. He heard her sip her coffee. He heard Scout shift on the linoleum. Are you eating? She asked. I'm eating. Are you sleeping? I'm sleeping. Are you lying? A little? Eli. I'm fine, Mama. I promise. You promise me you'll come home one of these days. I promise. You promised last year. I'll keep promising until I do. Don't keep promising. Just come. He swallowed hard. The flutter in his chest sped up. He pressed his hand against his sternum the way the doctors had told him not to. Soon, he said. Soon, she repeated, not believing him, not pretending to. I love you, Mama. I love you, my boy. Click. The cabin felt smaller after. The quilt of her voice gone the metal of the walls returning. He stared at the ceiling for a long minute. Then he got up. He had a job to do. He pulled on the gray uniform. The patch on his shoulder said, Maintenance Specialist in clean white thread. Everyone called it janitor. He called it janitor. There was no shame in the word. His daddy had been a mechanic. His grandfather had cleaned schools after hours. Work was work. The shame was not in the doing of it. The shame was in pretending you were doing something else. Still, some mornings the word sat heavy in his mouth. He picked up his toolkit and stepped into the corridor. The Harmony was a diplomatic vessel. 300 crew. 12 different species among the staff alone. A floating embassy, his captain called it. A roving olive branch. Eli walked the long curve of Deck 4 toward the mess hall and saw maybe 20 people on the way. Nobody saw him. That was not a complaint. That was an observation. Years of observation. He had become somewhere along the way the sort of person crew members walked past with their eyes on their tablets. He was the sound of the floor polisher. He was the smell of citrus disinfectant. He was the absence of dust. He was useful. He was unseen. Some mornings he did not mind. Some mornings he did. The mess hall was already half full when he arrived. The breakfast rush. He waited at the side wall with his hands folded in front of him. He had learned long ago to be still until the crowd thinned. Some people did not like to eat with the janitor watching. He did not blame them. He would not have liked it either. He watched the room without seeming to. It was a habit. He counted the spills before they happened. The coffee cup near the edge of the table by the viewport. The plate balanced wrong by the Centaurian delegation. The puddle of synth syrup the kitchen had not noticed yet. He noticed everything. That was the problem his sister used to say, even when they were kids. Eli, you notice too much. Eli, just look at your own plate. Eli, you'll go crazy by 30. He was 30 now. He was not crazy. Yet. "Morning, Eli." He turned. Dr. Elena Park stood beside him with her tray, and her hair half-pinned, and a stylus tucked behind one ear. She was 35. He knew because he had seen her file, not because he had looked. He had not looked. He had been mopping in the records corridor when the screen happened to scroll past him. He had not looked. He had looked. He had looked twice. "Morning, doctor." "Doctor. You're killing me with the doctor. Sorry." "Morning, Elena." "Better." She smiled. It was a small smile, a worn-edge smile. The kind of smile a woman gives when she has been awake for too many hours, but still has something kind left. "You're up early," he said. "I'm always up early. So are you." "Habit." "Same." She reached past him for a packet of sweetener. Her sleeve brushed his arm. He did not move. He did not breathe. She did not seem to notice. Which was fine. That was fine. "Long day ahead?" he asked. "Long week. The Valerian botanist down at the station has hybridized something he says is a flower. I am 90% sure it is a chemical weapon with petals. Sounds romantic. That's why I'm bringing a containment field." He laughed. He did not laugh often. The sound surprised them both. Elena tilted her head, looked at him the way she sometimes looked at slides under her microscope. Curious. Patient. Not in a hurry. "You should come down to the station this afternoon," she said. "I have work." "You always have work." "I always do." "That's not actually an answer, Eli. It's the one I've got." "All right." She turned to go. 2 steps. 3. Then she paused and looked back at him. "For the record," she said, "I would have liked it if you came." She walked away. He stood there. He stood there for a full 40 seconds with the floor polisher unplugged and the citrus disinfectant uncapped, and his face doing something he could not feel. Because what was that? What had that been? Had that been? No. No, that had not been. She was being friendly. She was being a colleague. She was a doctor with 3 degrees, and he was a man with a mop and a heart that did not work right. Get a grip, Whitlock. Get a grip. He plugged the floor polisher back in. He worked. By 08:30, he had cleaned 3 corridors, restocked 2 supply closets, replaced a flickering panel in the recreation lounge, coiled a hose, wiped a fingerprint smudge off the captain's office door, so smooth you would have thought the door had been born that way. He was wiping down the last table in the mess when he heard footsteps behind him. Heavy. Deliberate. "Boots! Whitlock!" Captain Brennan. Eli straightened, folded the cloth in his hand, the way his grandfather had taught him. Neat squares. Always. "Captain." Brennan was 60 if he was a day, iron in his hair, iron in his jaw, a man who had earned every line on his face the hard way. He poured himself a black coffee and stood next to Eli at the counter, the way 2 men stand, who are not friends, but have respected each other for a long time without saying so. "Heard from your mother lately?" Brennan asked. "This morning. How's Nebraska? Still there?" "Good." A pause. Brennan sipped his coffee. Eli waited. "You hear anything?" Brennan said finally. About the Draxians. Rumors. What kind of rumors? The kind that come up from the lower deck and don't say their names. Brennan nodded slowly, took another sip. There's a faction, he said. Draxian, extremist. They didn't like the trade agreement with Earth, didn't like the medical exchange with the Nelvari. They especially didn't like that Earth and Nelvari signed within 6 weeks of each other. They think we're colluding. They think we're a threat. Are we? Brennan almost smiled. To them, probably. Eli folded the cloth again. He had folded it 3 times now. He could not seem to stop folding it. Why are you telling me this, sir? Because you go down to the station. I have to pick up solvent. I know. I read the manifest. Brennan turned to him, set down the coffee. You go places people don't watch Whitlock. You see things people don't see. You have a half a year of military training before they cut you for the heart thing. You have eyes. I have a mop, sir. You have eyes. Eli looked at the floor. He felt something he had not felt in a long time. A small heat behind his sternum. Not the flutter. Something else. Something that had nothing to do with his heart, and everything to do with being seen. I'm not asking you to do anything, Brennan said. I'm telling you. Keep your head up down there. Yes, sir. Whitlock. Yes, sir. You hear me? I hear you, sir. Brennan picked up his coffee and walked out. Eli stayed by the counter for a long minute. He unfolded the cloth, folded it again, set it down, picked it back up. He thought about his mother saying, always stand with the small one. He thought about Elena saying, I would have liked it if you came. He thought about Brennan saying, you have eyes. He picked up his toolkit. He went down to the station. Nexus Station hit you in waves. The first wave was sound. The second was smell. The third was the feeling of being one small body inside something that had been built to hold the bodies of every species in the Orion arm. Eli stepped off the transport tube and let it all wash over him. The light came down through high translucent ceilings and broke into colors he did not have names for. The air smelled like 1,000 kitchens at once. Cardamom and ammonia and something sweet that made his eyes water. A pair of tall Alluri women drifted past their translucent skin, catching the light like wet glass. A Taraxian merchant shouted prices at the top of his lungs in 3 languages. Somewhere a child was crying. Somewhere someone was laughing. He kept his head down. He kept walking. The maintenance supply shop was tucked into a quieter corridor on the 2nd level. He bought his solvent. He had a brief and friendly argument with the shopkeeper about credit. He paid. He started back. That was when he heard the voices, raised voices, the wrong kind. He stopped at the mouth of the corridor. A Draxian merchant was standing in the middle of the walkway, with his cart half blocking traffic. His scales had gone dark crimson, which Eli knew meant agitation. A station security officer stood across from him, with his hand near his stunner. "3rd time this week," the officer was saying. "Move the cart." Other merchants, they block. You do nothing. Other merchants aren't you. What does that mean? It means move the cart. The Draxian hissed, multiple rows of teeth. Eli took half a step back without thinking. The merchant moved the cart. The crowd that had gathered began to drift apart. Eli stayed at the corner, not because he wanted to, because something had caught his eye. in the alcove across the way. 4 other Draxians, watching. Not watching the merchant, watching the officer. One of them stood a head taller than the rest. A scar crossed his crest in a long, pale line. He had his arms folded and his inner eyelids half closed, and he looked at the security officer the way a man looks at a problem he has already decided how to solve. Eli watched the tall one for maybe 4 seconds. The tall one did not see him. Eli was a janitor. Janitors were invisible. He looked away. He kept walking. He told himself it was nothing. It was probably nothing. Captain Brennan had him jumping at shadows. He was a maintenance specialist with a heart condition and a bottle of cleaning solvent, and he had a Sunday call to think about, and tomatoes and a dog named Scout. He turned the corner. Something hit him at knee height. Small, fast, soft. He stumbled, caught himself, looked down. A child looked up at him. She was Nelvari. He knew because he had cleaned the Nelvari consul's quarters once, and he had seen the pictures on the wall. They looked a little like Earth cats. Velvet fur, big eyes, small triangular ears that swiveled when they were upset. This one's ears were swiveling. Pale blue fur, amber eyes, cheeks wet. She could not have been older than 8. She was alone. She was very alone. "Hey," Eli said. He went down to one knee. Hey now!" She stared at him. He kept his voice low, the way his daddy used to talk to the new calves. "You're all right. You're all right. Where's your mama?" She did not answer. He reached into his back pocket, pulled out the handkerchief his mother had sent him last Christmas. Blue with white edges. Clean. He always carried a clean one. His mother had insisted. He held it up. "May I?" She nodded once. He wiped her cheek. Once. Twice. Carefully, the way you wipe a child's face. She watched him while he did it. She did not blink. "My name's Eli. Lyra. Lyra. That's pretty. You smell like my grandfather." Eli paused with the handkerchief halfway to her other cheek. "Do I?" "Yes." "Is that good?" "Yes." He swallowed. He did not know why his throat did the thing it did. "All right, Lyra. Let's find your mama." "Yeah." She put her small hand in his. It was warm. The fur on the back of her knuckles was soft as down. He stood up slowly so he would not pull her off balance. "Where did you see her last?" She pointed. Down the long corridor, toward the central plaza. "Then that's where we're going." They walked. She was small. He shortened his stride without thinking about it. He kept her on the side, away from the main flow of foot traffic. He kept his eyes moving the way Captain Brennan had taught him. In the half-year before they cut him, Lyra was talking. He did not catch all of it at first. Her voice was small and the market was loud. But after a minute he tuned in. "And he had 3 teeth left," she was saying. 3. He could only eat the soft food, but he liked the soft food. He liked the warm milk with bread in it. "Your grandfather." "My grandfather. He sounds nice." "He was very old." "How old?" 290. Eli almost stopped walking. "He was 290 years old." "Yes." "Lyra." "Yes. How old are people supposed to get where you come from?" 300. "Okay." He almost made it. He almost made it. Yes. She squeezed his hand. He squeezed back. It was reflex. You're squeezing too hard, she said. Sorry. It's all right. They walked. Are you from Earth? She asked. I am. What is Earth like? He thought about it. It has oceans, he said, and mountains, and forests where the trees grow so tall you can't see the tops. And it has Nebraska. What is Nebraska? It's where my mama lives. It's flat. It has wheat for as far as you can look. In the summer it gets so hot, the air goes wavy. And in the fall, the wind smells like cut hay. And in the winter there's snow. And in the spring there's mud. And there's a dog named Scout. Scout? He's old too. He's got the same kind of 3 teeth. She laughed. It was a small, bright laugh. It was the first laugh he had heard out of her. It pulled something loose in his chest. He did not know that he would remember that laugh for the rest of his life. He did not know yet. They were almost at the central plaza when he saw her, a Nelvari woman. Grown, pale blue fur like the child's. Standing at the edge of a security substation, in a position Eli had seen before. The position of a person who has been searching for a very long time and is not yet ready to let herself fall apart. Lyra saw her at the same moment. Mama! She tore out of his hand and ran. The Nelvari woman turned. Her face broke open. She caught the child and went to her knees and held on as if the air was about to take her. Eli stayed back. 3 steps. He did not want to crowd the moment. He understood the moment. After a long minute, the woman looked up at him. Her eyes were the same amber as the child's. They were full. You found her. She found me, ma'am. Thank you. Of course. The woman pulled herself to her feet. She kept one hand on Lyra's shoulder, as if she was afraid the child might dissolve. Eli understood that too. I am Nissa, she said. Eli Whitlock. Mr. Whitlock. Just Eli, ma'am. She nodded. She was not done looking at him. He could not read the look. There was gratitude in it, but there was something else too. Something close to fear, but not fear. There have been threats, she said. My husband. He works in the diplomatic corps. He helped negotiate something some people did not want negotiated. We have been receiving messages. I'm sorry. When I could not find her, I thought. She did not finish. She did not have to. A station security officer leaned out the door of the substation. Ma'am. Sir, we've got a situation in the plaza. What kind of situation? Eli asked. The officer was already moving past them. Running. The kind with weapons, he called over his shoulder. Stay inside. He pulled the substation door shut behind him. It locked. Of course it locked. Eli turned to Nissa. Is there another door? I don't know. Hold her hand. What? Hold her hand. Tight. Don't let go for anything. Do you understand? Yes. He looked down the corridor toward the plaza. He heard it before he saw it. The wrong kind of sound. The kind that does not belong in a market. The sharp percussive crack of an energy weapon. Then another. Then the rolling low sound of a crowd that has just understood something terrible. People came around the corner, running. Some of them screaming. Most of them silent in the way people get silent when fear has taken over the throat. They poured past Eli and Nissa and Lyra. A wave. They were a wave. When the wave thinned, 3 figures were standing where the corridor opened into the plaza. Draxian, scales crimson, eyes wide, blades drawn. Eli recognized the one in front, scar across the crest. Tall, arms folded a few minutes ago in the alcove, not folded now. The Draxian saw them. His eyes went to Nissa, then to Lyra, then to Eli. He smiled. Eli had never seen a Draxian smile before. It was not a thing that should be smiled with. Eli took one step, then another. He moved himself in front of Nissa and Lyra. He spread his arms out a little, not in a fighting stance, just enough to make himself bigger. "Mama," he heard the child whisper behind him. "Shh, baby, shh." The tall Draxian came down the corridor at a walk. Behind him, the other 2, 3 blades. Eli had 3. Eli had nothing. Eli had a heart that did not work right, and half a year of military training he had never finished, and a bottle of cleaning solvent he had set down by the wall when Lyra had grabbed his hand. The tall Draxian stopped 6 feet from him. The smile was gone. "Stand aside." "No." "Human." "I said no." "My quarrel is not with you." "It is now." The Draxian's inner eyelid flickered. Eli did not know what that meant. He suspected it was not good. "The female's mate is a traitor to galactic independence. That's not my problem." "It will be." "Yeah," Eli said. "I figured." He should have been more afraid than he was. He noticed this distantly, the way you notice the weather. He was afraid. But the fear was not the loud kind. It was the quiet kind. The kind that settles into your bones and tells you simply, "This is the moment. This is the moment, Eli. Always stand with the small one." The tall Draxian raised his blade, and 5 more Draxians stepped out of the corridor behind him. Eli counted them. He did not mean to. He could not help it. 3 plus 5. 8. He thought well. He thought all right. He thought, "Mama, I'm sorry." And then he was moving. The first blade came at his shoulder. He sidestepped, caught the wrist, used the Draxian's own weight against him, the way his recruit instructor had drilled into him for 6 months before they cut him for the flutter in his chest. The Draxian went sideways into the wall. The blade clattered. Eli kicked it back behind him toward Nissa. The second blade came from the left. He saw it too late. It opened a line across the top of his shoulder. Heat, then cold. He turned into the cut, not away from it, because turning away would have given them his back. He struck the Draxian in the throat with the heel of his hand. Scales were hard. Throats were not. The Draxian went down, coughing. That was 2. The third came at him low. He took the blade in the side of his thigh. He felt the muscle part. He kept his weight on the leg, because if he stopped using it, he would not get it back. He grabbed the Draxian's wrist, twisted. The blade came free in his own hand. Now he had something. Behind him, he heard Lyra crying. "Don't look," he said. Not loud. He did not have breath for loud. "Don't look, sweetheart. Close your eyes." "Eli." That was Nissa. "Close her eyes," he said. "Please." The 5 new ones moved up. He fought. He fought the way men fight when there is nothing left to spend. He blocked a strike with the blade in his hand and felt the shock all the way up to his elbow. He took a cut across his ribs that should have stopped him, and did not. He took another across his forearm. The blade in his hand grew slick. His own grip on it grew slick. He was making sounds now. He did not know what kinds of sounds. He could feel the flutter in his chest, faster than it should be, faster than the doctors had liked. The world narrowed at the edges. He kept his body between the blades and the child. That was the only thing. That was the only thing. A blade caught him under the arm. He could not lift it after that. A blade went into his thigh again. The other thigh. Both legs now. He did not know how he was standing. He was standing. That was 5. That was 6. The tall Draxian, the one with the scar. He had not moved yet. He had been watching. He had been letting the others tire him. He moved now. He came in fast. He was bigger than Eli. Heavier. He did not go for Eli's body. He went past Eli's body. He angled the blade low and reached around Eli, and Eli understood with the clean, cold clarity that only comes at the very edge of a life what the Draxian was doing. He was going for Lyra. Eli turned. He should not have been able to turn. His legs should not have held. They held. He turned into the blade. He took it in the back. Deep. He felt the point of it come out somewhere near his collarbone. He felt the warmth that was not warmth. He felt the Draxian behind him try to pull the blade free. He felt the blade come free. That was 7. The Draxian raised it again. For the child. Eli reached behind him. He found the blade with his bare hand. He closed his fingers on it. He did not feel his fingers. He felt the blade. He pulled it forward. He pulled it against his own chest. He turned the point. The 8th blade went into him. He did not feel it go in. He felt the world go quiet. He fell to his knees. He stayed on his knees. The Draxian behind him was shouting something. Then the Draxian behind him was running. They were all running. He could hear boots. Many boots. New boots. Station security. Late. So late. He looked up. Lyra was looking at him. Her amber eyes were huge. He smiled about her. He tried to. He whispered. He did not know if she could hear him. "My mama," he said. "My mama would be proud of me. Today." He fell. The floor was cold. The floor was very cold. He could hear Lyra calling his name. Eli. 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 His mother had named him Elijah. She had wanted a name from the old book, a name with weight. He had been Eli since he was 3 because his sister could not say Elijah. Eli was a small name for a small life. He had thought wrong. The light went a long way away. It went out. Half a galaxy away. On the screened porch of a small house outside Lincoln, Nebraska. Ruth Whitlock sat up in her bed. The room was dark. The clock on her bedside table read 3:47 a.m. Scout was already on his feet at the foot of the bed, whining. The low whine he only did when something was wrong. The whine he had done the night her father died. The whine he had done the morning her sister called about the diagnosis. the wine. Ruth put her hand on her chest. She did not know why she did it. She did it. She stayed sitting up in the dark with her hand on her chest, and her dog whining at the foot of the bed, and her husband sleeping beside her, unaware the way men sleep. And she said her son's name out loud to the empty room. Eli, just that, just his name. She did not cry. She would cry later. She would cry the next morning when the call came through the long-range relay from Captain Brennan of the diplomatic vessel Harmony, who would be very gentle and very careful and very clear in the way only men who have made that call before know how to be. She did not cry now. She got out of bed. She went down the hall in her bare feet. She lit a candle on the kitchen windowsill, the way her grandmother had taught her, the way her mother had taught her, the way women in her family had been doing for as long as there had been women in her family. You did not call it a prayer. You did not call it anything. You lit the candle, and you set it in the window, and you waited. She set the candle in the window. She waited. Scout sat down beside her. Outside, the wheat moved in the dark. Outside, the wind smelled like cut hay. Outside, the stars were so many and so far away. She watched the candle burn. She said quiet only to the kitchen, only to the dark, only to the dog at her feet, who already understood. You hold on, my boy. You hold on. You hold on for your mama. The candle burned. The wheat moved. And 40 light years away in a corridor that smelled of blood and citrus disinfectant. In the arms of a child whose name he had known for less than an hour, the heart of Eli Whitlock fluttered once, twice, a third time, and was still. Part 2. The first thing was sound. A soft chime. Slow. Regular. The kind of chime that meant a heart was beating. His heart. Eli did not open his eyes yet. He listened. Because the chime was strange. The rhythm was off. Not the way it had been off all his life. A different off. Steadier. Calmer. Like someone had taken his heart out and tuned it the way you tune a string. Then there was a smell. Not citrus. Not disinfectant. Something green. Something almost like the herb garden his mother kept by the kitchen door. Almost. But sweeter. Older. Then there was warmth. A small, warm shape pressed against his right hand. He turned his head, 1/4 of an inch. Pain. Immediate. Bright. From everywhere. He stopped turning. He opened his eyes. The ceiling above him was high. Higher than any ceiling on the Harmony. And it shimmered. The panels caught light and broke it the way water breaks light. Iridescent. Pale silver into pale green into pale blue. He was not on the Harmony. That was the first thing he understood. The second thing he understood was that the warm shape against his right hand was someone holding it. He looked down. Lyra. She was asleep in a chair pulled up tight against the bed. Her cheek was on the back of his hand. Her ears were swiveled forward even in sleep, the way a small animal sleeps that has been frightened for too long and still does not feel safe. Her mother sat beside her, awake, watching him. Nisa's eyes were red. She said nothing. She put one finger to her lips. He understood. He did not speak. He looked at the child sleeping on his hand. He thought, oh. He thought, oh. He thought I made it. He let his head fall back against the pillow. He looked at the ceiling that broke the light into colors. He listened to the steady, tuned chime of his own heart. He thought about Mama. His eyes leaked. He did not move to wipe them. He could not move to wipe them. He did not want Nisa to think he was in pain. He was not in pain. He was the opposite of pain. He let it run. The nurse came in some hours later. She was Nelvari, older, silver running through the gray of her fur. She wore something that looked like medical robes, but moved like silk. She did not introduce herself. She checked a panel beside his bed without ceremony. She adjusted something. The chime of his heart slowed by one beat. "You are awake," she said. "Yes." "Do not try to sit." "All right." "Do you know where you are?" "No." "You are in the Royal Medical Center on Nell Prime." He thought about that. He thought about it carefully because his head was not entirely his head yet. Nell Prime. Yes. That's not in the same system as Nexus. No. How did I get here? Diplomatic transport. How long? You have been with us 7 standard days. He closed his eyes. 7 days. Mama. Has someone called my mother? Your captain has been in contact with your family. Has someone called my mother? Mr. Whitlock. Please. The nurse paused. She softened. He did not have words for how he saw the softening, but he saw it. Your captain spoke with her the day after you arrived here. She has been told you are alive. She has been told you are recovering. She has been told she will speak with you the moment you wake. He let out a breath he did not know he had been holding for 7 days. Thank you. Of course. Nisa stood up from her chair very slowly, so as not to disturb the child still sleeping with her cheek against his hand. I will let them know you are awake, she said. Them. Yes. Who is them? You will see. She left. He turned his head very slowly this time and looked at Lyra. Asleep, she looked even smaller than she had in the market. The pale blue of her fur was almost white in the medical light. Her small hand was curled around his thumb. He could feel the warmth of her cheek through the back of his hand. He thought, I am still here because of her. And then he thought, no, she is still here because of me. And then he thought, oh, that isn't right either. We are still here because of each other. He did not know how to say what that was. He had no word for what that was. He thought maybe he did not need one. The door slid open without sound. 3 things happened in sequence. First, 4 figures in armor came in. Not the armor of the Harmony security. Not the armor of station security. This armor moved. It pulsed. Soft lights traveled under the surface of it, like blood under skin. The 4 of them positioned themselves at the corners of the room and stood at perfect stillness. Second, an older Nelvari male entered. Silver fur, robes of state, a face that had spent a long life arranging itself for ceremony. Third, a Nelvari male who walked the way a man walks, who never has to ask the room to make space for him. Younger than the older one. Younger than the captain. Crown braided into the fur at his temples. And behind them, a Nelvari woman. She was very old. Eli knew she was old before he could have explained how he knew. There was something in her stillness. There was something in the way the others stood when she came in. She wore no crown. She wore a long, pale gray robe and a single chain of small silver beads. Her fur was almost white. Her eyes were the same amber as Lyra's, the same amber as Nissa's. She walked to the side of his bed. She did not look at the others. She looked at the child still sleeping on the back of his hand. Then she looked at his face. She did something Eli did not expect. She reached out with one wrinkled hand and laid it on his. Her fur was very soft. She did not speak for a long moment. Then she said in a voice low and warm and worn at the edges, "My boy." Eli could not. He could not. 2 words. From a woman who was not his mother, in a language that should not have been his. 2 words, and they cut him open in the one place none of the 8 blades had reached. He did not cry the way men cry. He did not weep. He did the small, involuntary thing his face did, where his mouth went sideways and the breath came out of him strange. She held his hand. She let him. The crowned one cleared his throat. "Grandmother." She lifted her eyes to him. Mildly. "Yes, my king. There are things we must say." "Then say them. I am not stopping you." A small ripple moved through the room. Eli understood that this was a woman who said small things and ended large arguments. He liked her immediately. He liked her the way he liked his mother. He liked her more. The crowned one stepped forward. "Mr. Whitlock." "Yes, sir." "I am Thelron. I am king of the Nelvari Confederation." "Yes, sir." "This is the Lord Regent. Ulris. He governs at my left hand." "Yes, sir." "This is my grandmother, Queen Mother Selah. She is the conscience of this house." "Ma'am." She squeezed his hand. "Mr. Whitlock." "Yes, sir." "The child whose hand you hold." "Yes, sir." "She is my brother's daughter. She is of the royal blood. She is the niece of the king." Eli was silent for a moment. He looked at the small, sleeping shape with her cheek pressed against the back of his hand. He thought. "Well, that explains some things," he said quietly. "I didn't know. We are aware that you did not know. It wouldn't have mattered. We are aware of that as well." The king's voice was not warm. It was not cold either. It was the voice of a man who was holding a great deal under careful pressure. "There is a debt," King Thelron said. "No, sir." "Mr. Whitlock." "There is no debt, sir. With respect." "Mr. Whitlock." "She is a child. That is the only reason a person needs." The Queen Mother's hand tightened on his. The king said nothing. The Lord Regent took half a step forward. He was older. He moved like a man who had carried weight on his shoulders for a long time and had learned how to walk with it without looking like he was carrying anything at all. "Whether you accept the debt or not," he said, "the debt exists. You will be cared for here until you are well. You will be cared for here for as long as you wish to be. You are from this moment under the protection of the royal house of Nell. Sir, there will be a formal ceremony when you are strong enough." "Sir, I clean toilets." A silence. The Queen Mother laughed. It was a small laugh, a dry old laugh, like leaves moving. "My boy," she said, "so did the first king of this house. So did all of us once. There is no shame in clean things. There is great shame in the people who do not know how clean things get clean." She looked at her grandson, the king, when she said it. The king almost smiled. "Rest now, Mr. Whitlock," he said. They turned to leave. The guards moved with them. They moved as one body. The room felt larger when they were gone, and then immediately smaller the way rooms do when something important leaves. The Queen Mother did not leave. She sat down in the chair Nissa had been using. She kept his hand. "My boy." "Ma'am." "Your mother." "Yes, ma'am." "She woke at the hour you fell." Eli looked at her. He did not ask how she knew. He did not need to ask. The Queen Mother kept her old amber eyes on his face. Her voice was the voice of every grandmother, in every kitchen, in every century that had ever existed. "I felt it," she said. "Across the dark. I felt a mother in a small house on a small world sit up in her bed and put her hand on her chest. I felt her light a candle in her window. I do not know how I felt it. I am very old. I have stopped asking how." He could not speak. She kept his hand. "She is a good woman," the Queen Mother said. "Your mother." "Yes, ma'am." "You will call her now." "I want to." "You will." "I'm afraid to." "Yes." "What do I say to her?" The Queen Mother did the small dry leaves laugh again. "You will know." He called her that night. The Nelvari console was a strange thing. The screen curved. The light was warm. The picture when it came up was so clean it was almost worse than being in the room. Ruth Whitlock filled the screen, hair pinned up, same as Sunday. Eyes already wet, mouth set the way she said it before she was about to be brave for somebody else. She did not speak. He did not speak. They looked at each other across 40 light years, and the gap between them was not space. The gap between them was the 7 days she had not known if her child was alive. She broke first. "Eli." "Mama." "My boy." "Mama, I'm sorry." "Don't." "Mama, I'm so sorry." "Don't you dare." "I didn't mean to scare you." "You hush." "Yes, ma'am." She wiped her face with the back of her wrist, the way she had done it his whole life, the way she had wiped her face when his sister fell off the porch step and split her chin, the way she had wiped her face when his grandfather died. "You're alive," she said. "Yes, ma'am." "You stay alive." "Yes, ma'am." "You hear me, Elijah Whitlock?" "I hear you, Mama." A long breath. "They told me what you did. It wasn't much. They told me 8. Mama. 8. Mama. You held them off her." "I had to." "I know you did." "I had to, Mama." "I know." She put her hand against the screen. He could see the lines on her knuckles, the wedding ring he had played with as a baby, the small scar on her thumb from the year she canned tomatoes too fast and did not tell anybody. He put his hand against the screen on his end. The screen was cold. It did not matter. "Mama." "Yes, baby." "Daddy said it." "What did he say?" "Always stand with the small one." "He did say that. He said it every day until I left." "He did." "So I stood." She nodded. She nodded. She could not speak for a long minute. When she could, she said, "Your daddy is in the garden. He won't come in. He's been in the garden since the call came on Tuesday. He has weeded that garden, Elijah, the way a man weeds a garden when he doesn't know what else to do with his hands. There is not a weed in Lancaster County right now, because your father took it personally." Eli laughed. He laughed until his ribs reminded him not to. "Tell him," he said. "Tell him I stood. He knows. Tell him anyway." "All right, I will." "And tell Scout." "Scout knows too." "How is Scout?" "He's old Eli." "I know. He waited up the night you fell." "I know, Mama." A pause. "You come home," she said. "When you can, you come home." "I will. Promise." "I promise." "You promised last year." "I promise different this time." "All right. Mama." "Yes, baby. I love you. I love you too. Get some sleep." The screen went dark. He lay back. He cried the way he had not cried since he was 11, and his grandfather had died. The Queen Mother had stayed in the room the whole time. She did not say a word. She just sat there. She let him. The next 12 days he was not allowed to walk. Lyra came every day. That was the rule she had set, not anyone else's rule. Hers. She came in the mornings before her tutor. She brought tea. The tea was Nelvari and tasted like a meadow you walked through as a child but could not remember the name of. She poured it into a small cup. She held the cup to his mouth because his right arm was not lifting yet. She did not spill. She did not talk much at first. She would sit. She would watch him drink. Then she would say something small. "Your hand smells different today." "It does. They put new salve on it." "They did?" "I don't like the smell." "Me neither. I brought you something." She held it out. A small, smooth stone. Pale green. Polished by water. The size of a robin's egg. "My grandfather gave it to me when I was 4. He said it was a luck stone. He said when you give it away, you give the luck. He said you have to give it eventually. He said the luck does not work if you keep it forever." "Lyra, take it." "Lyra, I can't." "You have to. It's your grandfather's. I am giving it to you. That is what he said you had to do. He said one day you find someone and you give them the luck he said you will know. And you know. I know." She put the stone in his open palm and closed his fingers around it. It was warm. It stayed warm. He kept it in his hand every night after that. He kept it under the pillow when he slept. He did not tell anyone. Some things you do not tell. On the 14th day, they let him stand. He did not stand long. He did not stand well. He stood with his hand on the rail of the bed and his teeth set, and a male orderly half a step behind him in case he toppled. He did not topple. He took 3 steps. He sat back down. He grinned at Lyra like a man who had just won an argument. Lyra clapped twice. Very small claps. The kind a princess gives in a sick room. "Good," she said. "Tomorrow you walk 5. Bossy." "Yes." On the 17th day, Elena came. He was not expecting her. He was sitting up in a chair by the window. The window looked out over a long, sloped garden the Queen Mother had told him she had planted as a girl. Pale flowers, strange long grasses, something with silver leaves that turned over in the wind. The door slid open. He turned. He thought it would be the Queen Mother, or Nissa, or one of the orderlies. It was not. She stood in the doorway with her bag still over her shoulder. Travel creased. Hair pinned up but messy from the long sleep on the transport. No stylus behind her ear today. He stared. Elena. Eli. You. Yes. You came. I had to. From Nexus. That's 40 light years, yes. Elena. Don't. Elena. Don't make me explain it. I will start crying, and I do not cry in front of patients. I do not cry. She crossed the room very fast. She did not hug him. She did not kiss him. She knelt by the chair. She took his hand. The one without the stone. The one that was working again. She did not say anything for almost a minute. He did not either. He could hear her breathing. He could hear her not crying. He thought you do not have to. You don't have to explain it. You came. I understand what came means. He squeezed her hand. She squeezed back. You are an idiot, she said. I know. You are the dumbest brave man I have ever heard of. Probably. I read the report. 8. Apparently. 8, Eli. I lost count around 4. Don't joke. Sorry. You don't get to die on me before I asked you to dinner. You were going to ask me to dinner. I was building up to it. Elena. I am building up to it slowly because I am 35, and I do not have the energy to be wrong about a man anymore. So I move slow. So I was moving slow. So you almost died on me before I got there. So no. So you don't get to. He laughed. He laughed until his ribs reminded him. She did not let go of his hand. He did not let go of hers. That was the 17th day. That was also the night the first guard died. He did not know about the guard until morning. He woke to the chime of his heart, and the smell of the strange green herb, and the soft sound of Nisa weeping quietly in the chair by his bed. He turned his head. Nissa. I'm sorry. I did not want to wake you. What happened? A guard. What guard? Outside the corridor that leads to this wing. He was found at the change of watch. Throat. Throat what? Cut. Eli's blood went cold, the way blood goes cold when you understand a thing too quickly. He said slow, Lyra. She is safe. Valor is with her. He has not slept since. Show me. You cannot get up yet. Nissa. All right. She brought him a hand screen. She held it for him. She brought up the security feed. He watched it. A figure had moved through the western service corridor between the 3rd and 4th hour of the night. The figure had moved like someone who had been in service corridors before. The figure had been Draxian. The figure had been tall. The figure had been carrying. The figure had a scar across his crest. Eli closed his eyes. He had felt it. In a way he could not have explained. He had felt for 2 days that he had unfinished business. Krell, he said. Nissa stared at him. You know his name. I heard one of the security officers say it. The day. Yes. He came here. Yes. He came for Lyra. We have moved her. She is in the inner ring of the palace. We will keep her there. How did he get into the palace? Nissa did not answer. Nissa. I do not know. You do know. Eli. You do know. I can see it on your face. She looked at him for a long moment. She lowered her voice. I do not know, she said, but I have a guess. Tell me. Not now. Nissa. Not now, Eli. Heel. Nissa. She set the hand screen down and stood. You will be on your feet next week. The Royal Council meets in 9 days. You have been asked to address them. You will know more then. She left him alone with the morning light and the smell of green and the chime of his own borrowed heart. He lay very still. He thought. A guard had died. A door had been opened from the inside. Doors did not open from the inside on their own. He thought. Krell had come a long way. Krell had moved through a palace he should not have been able to move through. Krell had killed a man for nothing, because Lyra had already been moved. Krell had taken a risk so large that no man took it without help. Help on the inside. Eli closed his hand around the warm green stone under his blanket. He thought Lyra. He thought no. He thought not on my watch. He did not yet know how he was going to stop it. He just knew that he was. He stood up the next morning before they told him he could. He walked 5 steps. He walked 7. He walked 15. The orderly clucked at him in Nelvari, which he was slowly learning, and Eli grinned at her and kept walking. On the day of the Royal Council, Nissa came to dress him. He stood in front of a mirror that ran from floor to ceiling. He did not recognize himself. He had lost weight. His face was thinner. His shoulders were thinner. The scars on his throat and forearm and ribs were silver under the new tunic the Queen Mother had had made for him. The cloth was pale gray with a thin silver thread woven through. He looked like a man in a story. He did not feel like a man in a story. He felt like a janitor wearing borrowed clothes. He said so. Nissa, finishing the high collar, looked at him in the mirror. "You are a man," she said. Who stood when standing was not asked of him. Wear what you like. The council will see what stood. The council chamber was carved out of white stone and shaped like an open shell. There were 60 seats arranged in 3 tiers. There was a low platform at the center. There was a single empty chair on the platform. The chair was for him. The king sat at the high seat. The Lord Regent Ulrys sat at his right hand. The Queen Mother sat at his left. Vaelor stood at the side of the chamber in the dress of the diplomatic corps. He gave Eli one small nod. Eli walked to the chair. He sat. A counselor stood. He was older. His fur was a dark orange shot through with gray. His name was Maradek. Eli would learn the name. He would not forget it. Maradek began to speak. He spoke smoothly. He spoke about caution. He spoke about the pace of change. He spoke about the marketplace attack as a warning. He spoke about whether the Nelvari Confederation had perhaps overextended itself in welcoming the Earth Medical Exchange, in moving too quickly toward alliance, in inviting a galaxy that did not love them into the rooms where their children played. He did not look at Eli when he said this. He did not have to. The chamber listened. There were nods. Many nods. The council was full of old men and old women who had watched the galaxy change for a very long time and had not been asked before the changing started whether they wanted it to. Maradek finished speaking. The king turned to Eli. "Mr. Whitlock, would you address the council?" Eli stood. His legs held. He looked at the rows of upturned amber eyes. He thought Mama. He thought, what would Mama say? He did not have a speech. He had not written one. He had not been able to. He cleared his throat. My name is Eli Whitlock. I am 30 years old. I am from a town in Nebraska. My mother grows tomatoes. My father grows wheat. My dog's name is Scout. He has 3 teeth left. A small ripple of something. He did not know if it was laughter. He did not stop. I was rejected from military service when I was 22. They said my heart did not beat right. They were correct. It does not. It beats sideways. It always has. I have spent 8 years believing that my body was not the body of a man who could matter. I cleaned floors on a ship that was supposed to be making a difference in the galaxy. I told myself the floors mattered. I told myself this because it was true. I also told myself this because there was nothing else to tell. He paused, and then a child grabbed my hand in a marketplace. The chamber went very still. I did not know who she was. I did not know who her father was. I did not know who her uncle was. I did not know any of that. I did not need to know any of that. She was a child. She was small. She was afraid, and my father told me every day of my life until I left home, always stand with the small one, even when it costs you. Especially when it costs you. He looked at Maradek. Maradek looked away. You speak of caution, Eli said. I understand caution. I have lived a cautious life. I have lived 8 years of a cautious life. I can tell you from inside that life that caution does not save you. Caution only postpones the bill. Caution does not protect children. Caution does not protect anyone. Only standing protects. Only standing. The Queen Mother smiled. Eli did not see her smile. He was not looking at her. But the smile was there. My heart does not beat right, he said. I have always known this. 8 years ago I learned to hate this. Today I want to say something my mother told me long ago. She told me your heart beats sideways, Elijah, but it has always beat in the right direction. He sat down. He did not remember sitting down. His ears were ringing. The chamber did not erupt. The chamber was not the kind of chamber that erupted. The chamber was silent for a long, full breath, and then the Queen Mother set one old hand on the arm of her seat. One small sound. But the kind of small sound that other small sounds follow. 60 counselors set their hands on their seats. 60. Even Maradek. After. Slowly. But even Maradek. He found Maradek in the garden 2 nights later. He should not have been awake. He was still on the night cycle of his medications. He should have been asleep. He was not. He had taken to walking the inner garden of the Queen Mother's wing because the Queen Mother had told him the garden would heal him faster than the salve would. She had been right. The pale flowers smelled like clean water. The silver-leafed plants moved in a breeze that came from nowhere he could find. He walked. He held the green stone in his pocket. He thought. He turned a corner of the hedge. 2 figures. At the far end of the path. By the wall. Maradek. And another figure. Smaller. Robed. The robe was not Nelvari. The cut was not Nelvari. The cut was Draxian. Eli stopped. He stepped back behind the hedge. He could not hear them. He did not need to hear them. He saw Maradek take something. He saw Maradek give something. He saw the Draxian figure bow, low, very low, the way you bow when you have just been paid. The Draxian left through a small service gate Eli had not known was there. Maradek smoothed his robe. Maradek walked back toward the palace. He passed within 10 feet of the hedge. He did not see Eli. Of course he did not. A janitor knew how to stand still in a hedge. Eli stood very still in the dark of the garden for a long time after Maradek was gone. He did not move. He did not breathe loud. He thought. He thought about a guard dead in a service corridor. He thought about a door that had been opened from the inside. He thought about an old counselor with smooth language and careful eyes who had spoken against alliance in the morning and met a Draxian by a hidden gate at night. He took the green stone out of his pocket. He held it. It was warm. He whispered into the dark to the stone, to the child sleeping somewhere in the inner ring of the palace, to his mother 40 light years away, with a candle in her kitchen window. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. The garden was silent. The wind moved the silver leaves. He went inside. He went to find the Queen Mother. Part 3. The Queen Mother was awake. He should not have been surprised. She had told him once with the dry leaf laugh that old women slept the way old houses settled, in small pieces, at odd hours, whenever the wind allowed. She was sitting in a chair by a low window, a book in her lap, a cup of something steaming at her elbow. She did not look up when he came in. She had known he was coming. He understood that now. She always knew. "Sit, my boy." He sat. She closed the book. "Tell me." So he told her. He did not embellish. He did not soften. He laid it down the way his father laid down lumber in the barn. Square, clean, useful, a guard dead, a door opened from the inside, a counselor in the garden at the wrong hour, a Draxian bowing low at a service gate. She listened without moving. When he was finished, she did not speak for a long time. She picked up the cup. She drank from it. She set it down. She looked at him. "The truth," she said, "does not require proof to be known. It requires only the courage to be spoken." "Yes, ma'am." "You have the courage." "I'm not sure I do." "I am." "Ma'am." "I am sure of it, Elijah. Be quiet." He was quiet. She reached across and patted his hand the way his grandmother had patted his hand when he was small. "You will not speak of it yet," she said. "No." "You will let him reach further." "He will. He will reach until he cannot pull his hand back." "Yes, ma'am. And when he reaches, I will close my fingers." She smiled. It was not a grandmother's smile. It was the smile of a woman who had been queen of a planet for 40 years and grandmother of a queen for 30 more. He thought, "Lord, I am glad you are on my side." She read his face. "I am on the child's side," she said. "Yes, ma'am." "That is the same side." "Yes, ma'am." She let him go. He went back to his rooms. He did not sleep. The ceremony was 3 weeks later. 3 weeks of healing. 3 weeks of walking longer each morning in the garden. 3 weeks of small hands pulling at his sleeve to ask another question about Nebraska. 3 weeks of Elena Park sitting cross-legged on the floor of his rooms in the evenings with a data pad in her lap, reading him reports from the Harmony, pretending she was there for the reports. 3 weeks of Maradek, smooth, polite, smiling at him in corridors, pressing his palm to his chest in the Nelvari gesture of respect whenever they passed, saying soft, warm things in the council chamber about the importance of caution. Eli smiled back. Eli pressed his palm to his chest. Eli said nothing. He watched. He watched from the corners, from the side walls, from the places nobody looked because nobody thought to look. He saw Maradek hand a small data chip to a kitchen worker in a hallway. He saw Maradek dismiss his personal guard early one night. He saw Maradek take a private corridor to the outer wall. He told the Queen Mother each time. She nodded each time. She did nothing. She was letting him reach. The day of the outdoor ceremony arrived clear. The sky over Nell Prime was the color his mother's good china got when she held a plate up to the kitchen light. Pale gold, pale green at the edges, the kind of color that made you forget you had ever had a bad day. The ceremony was in the lower garden of the palace, a long stone terrace open on 3 sides, steps down to the silver-leafed grass, a platform at the center, a canopy of pale fabric that lifted in the wind. Half the diplomatic corps was there. 3 of the alliance ambassadors. The Queen Mother in her gray robe and her single chain of silver beads. Valor in formal blue. Nissa in pale lavender. Lyra in a small dress the same color as her fur. Eli stood on the platform in the gray and silver Nissa had dressed him in for the council. He did not feel like a man in a story today either. Elena stood at the side of the platform. She had come for the day. She had not let go of his hand all morning. Now she had to let go. He felt the cold of his own hand without hers in it. The king stepped forward. He held the medallion. The Order of the Silver Star. Old, heavy. 3 small stones set in the silver. Eli could not look at it for long. The king spoke. He spoke about courage. He spoke about a marketplace. He spoke about a man who had stood between blades and a child. Eli did not hear most of it. Eli was watching the canopy, because the canopy was wrong. The lift of it was wrong. The shadow at the back corner was wrong. The way the fabric on the left side hung slightly heavier than the fabric on the right side was wrong. He had cleaned canopies on the Harmony. He had cleaned every kind of awning and curtain and drop cloth a maintenance specialist could be asked to clean. He knew how cloth hung. The cloth was hanging wrong. His eyes moved. He looked at the perimeter guards. The perimeter guards stood at attention. 4 of them. There should have been 6. His stomach went cold. He looked at the Queen Mother. She was already looking at him. Her eyes were sharp as cut glass. She nodded once. Very small. The king was still speaking. Eli did not let his face change. He did not let his shoulders change. He let his hand drift very slowly to Elena's hand at his side. He squeezed. Once, then twice, then once. Elena's eyes flicked up to his. She did not move otherwise. She had grown up the daughter of an engineer. She read code. She read him. She squeezed back. Once. Got it. She turned slow and casual to the steward standing at the bottom of the platform. She bent toward him. She murmured something. The steward's face did not change. The steward's foot did. The steward's foot took one small backward step that meant in any palace, in any system alert. The king finished speaking. The king turned to Eli with the medallion. He held it out. That was when the canopy ripped. It came down sideways. 5 figures dropped through. Crimson scales. Curved blades. They had been on the roof above the canopy. They had been waiting. The fourth Draxian was Krell. Krell dropped last. Krell landed 3 feet from Lyra. Time did the thing time does. Eli later remembered it in pieces. He remembered the king's medallion still in the king's hand. He remembered Elena already moving, already throwing herself between Lyra and the closest blade with her arm up, because Elena Park did not have a weapon, but she had a body, and the body would do. He remembered Nissa scooping the child up. He remembered Valor's blade clearing its sheath with a sound like a struck bell. He remembered very clearly the Queen Mother sitting still, her old hands folded in her lap, her eyes on the back of the chamber, her eyes on Maradek. Maradek was standing. Maradek was reaching for a door at the back of the terrace. Maradek's face was white. The Queen Mother did not move. 2 of her personal guard, who had been pretending to be servants who had been waiting for her signal, stepped out from behind the pillar. Maradek was trying to walk past. They closed their fingers on his arms. The Queen Mother closed her fingers. Eli saw it from across the terrace. He saw it in the half-second before he turned. He turned because Krell was 3 feet from Lyra, and Krell was raising his blade. Eli moved. He should not have been able to move. He was 3 weeks out of a bed. He was 3 weeks out of dying. His legs should not have carried him. They carried him. He went between Krell and Lyra, the way he had gone between the 8 blades and her the first time. He did not think about it. There was no thinking left. There was only the old shape of the movement his body had learned in a corridor on a station that smelled like citrus disinfectant. He took the blade in the chest. He took it dead center. He felt the point go in, and he felt it slide, and he felt it angle wrong off to the left of where it should have gone off to the left of where his heart should have been. It did not pierce his heart, because his heart was not where it was supposed to be. His heart had been beating sideways for 30 years. His heart had cost him his career. His heart had cost him his pride. His heart had cost him 8 years of his life. His heart, in that 1 second on a terrace in a palace garden, under a pale gold sky on a planet his mother had never heard of, saved his life. The blade went past it. The blade buried itself in the meat of his shoulder. Krell froze, for 1/2 second, surprised. The blade should have ended it. The blade should have gone home. Eli closed his hands on Krell's wrists. He did not punch. He did not strike. He held. He held with everything he had left. He held until Valor's blade came down on the back of Krell's neck with the flat. Not the edge. The flat. Valor was a diplomat. Valor remembered in the worst second of his life that they needed Krell alive. Krell dropped. Eli dropped. He went to his knees on the stone, then to his side. The pale gold sky was above him. The canopy that should have hung evenly hung in tatters above him. Lyra's small face came into his vision. She was crying. She was not running away this time. She had not run. She was kneeling beside him, her small hand on his cheek, her amber eyes huge. Eli, Eli, Eli. He smiled. He could smile. He had not been sure he could. Courage isn't the absence of fear, sweetheart. She was already saying it with him. She had memorized it. She had been saying it to herself every night. It's choosing the small one over yourself, even when your hands shake. Look at my hands, he whispered. She looked. They were shaking. She put her small hands over his. Mine too, she said. He laughed. It was a wet, small laugh. Elena was already there on his other side with her medical bag, already opening it, already shouting at someone for a kit. He looked up at her face. He memorized it. Just in case. You don't get to die on me, she said. We had a deal. I remember. You don't get to. I'm not. You better not. I'm not Elena. I love you. He blinked. What? You heard me. You picked now. I picked now. Elena. Don't make me say it again. Say it again. I love you. He breathed out. He breathed out into the pale gold sky and the silver-leafed grass and the small warm hands on his face, and he said, Same. She laughed. Then she went to work. The trial was a week later. Maradek did not deny it. That was the surprise, or it was not a surprise depending on which kind of man you had decided he was. He stood in the council chamber with his hands folded and his fur smooth, and he spoke about purity. He spoke about the old Nell. He spoke about contamination. He spoke about how a planet that had been one thing for 3,000 years should not, in his judgment, be permitted to become another thing in 20. He said he had been protecting Nell. He said he was sorry only that he had failed. The Queen Mother listened from her seat without speaking. When he was done, she stood. She did not raise her voice. You did not protect Nell, she said. You sold a guard. You opened a door. You drew a child's name on a Draxian map. You did not protect Nell. You loved your idea of Nell more than you loved the people of Nell. That is the oldest sin of old men. It is not new. It will not be forgiven here. She sat down. The chamber voted. It did not take long. Eli did not go to the sentencing. He had a different visit to make. The holding cell was deep in the lower wing of the palace. Cold stone, a single high window, a bench, a trough of water. No bed. Krell sat on the bench with his hands folded across his knees. His scales were dull, not the deep crimson of rage, not the dark of agitation. The flat, gray rust of a man who had stopped feeling much of anything. He looked up when Eli came in. He did not stand. Eli did not expect him to. Eli sat down on the floor across from the bench. He sat down slowly because his shoulder was still wrong. He sat with his back against the opposite wall. He drew his knees up. He did not speak. Krell did not speak. A long time passed. A very long time. Eli had decided before he walked down to this cell that he would let Krell speak first. Or not. Whichever Krell chose. He had decided that he was not here to demand anything. He was here to sit on a cold floor across from a man who had tried to kill him twice and a child once, and to see with his own eyes what was on the other side of that man's face. Krell spoke. Why did you come? I'm not sure. You should not have come. Probably not. You will not understand what I tell you if I tell you. Maybe. Why did you come? Eli thought about it. Because I'm tired of hating you, he said, and I haven't even started yet. And I figured if I'm going to be tired of it, I might as well not start. Krell looked at him. Krell looked at him for a long time. Then Krell told him about his daughter. He told him in pieces. Slow. The way a man tells a thing he has not said out loud in 5 years. Her name was Vereth. She had been 8. She had been on a transport her mother worked. The transport had been carrying Nelvari medical supplies under a Draxian flag, of convenience because the supplies had been blockaded. The blockade had been Nelvari. The blockade had been a misunderstanding. The blockade had not been Krell's daughter's fault. The blockade had ended in a misfire. The misfire had killed everyone aboard. The misfire had been ruled a tragedy. Nobody had been punished. Nobody had said sorry to Krell. A diplomat had sent a printed card. Krell told the story without crying. He had finished crying a long time ago. Eli could see it. Crying had a shape on a face. The shape was gone from Krell's face. What was left was the scar where the shape had been. When Krell was done, Eli sat for a long time and did not say anything. He thought about Lyra. He thought about Vereth. He thought about the difference between 8 and 8. He thought about the way a parent's hands looked holding a child who would not get older. He thought about his own mother. He thought about what his mother would say if someone had taken him at 8, and the people who had taken him had sent her a printed card. He thought he understood for the first time why Krell had picked up a blade. He did not forgive him. That was important. He did not forgive him. But he saw him. He said finally, "I can't bring her back. No. I can't make it right. No. I am very sorry about Vereth. I am very sorry there was a card." Krell did not move. "I won't lie to you," Eli said. "I'm not here to forgive you. I'm not sure I can yet. I might never. I'm a small man. My heart beats sideways. I'm not very good at forgiveness. My mama is better at it than I am. She'd probably forgive you faster. I'm not her." "Then why are you here?" "Because the next 8-year-old shouldn't have to die for what happened to your daughter. Because the one after that shouldn't either. Because somebody has to stop, and you couldn't. You couldn't, Krell. I'm not blaming you. You couldn't. So I will. So I'm going to." Krell looked down. Krell looked down for a long time. He said very quiet, "Tell the small one." "Lyra." "Yes. Tell her." "What?" "Tell her I am sorry." Eli swallowed. "All right. Tell her Vereth would have liked her." Eli could not speak. He nodded. He stood up. His shoulder hurt. He let it hurt. He walked to the door of the cell. He stopped. He turned. "Krell." "Yes." "I'll come back." "Why?" "I don't know yet. I'll come back." He walked out. He went back to the upper garden and sat down by the silver-leafed grass. And he cried the way he had not cried since the kitchen call to his mother. He cried for Vereth. He cried for Lyra. He cried for his own 30 years. He cried for the printed card. He went home in the spring. Earth in the spring. He had forgotten what earth in the spring smelled like. The transport came down through the long curve of the western sky over Nebraska, and he stood at the porthole, and he could see from 100 miles up the green, starting to come back to the prairie. The lines of fields, the thread of a river, the small dots of towns, the smaller dot very far that was Lincoln. He thought of Mama. He thought, "Mama, I'm coming." The state visit went the way state visits go. Speeches, dinners. A long handshake on a podium in front of the Capitol building in New Geneva. The king on one side, the president on the other. Eli in the middle in a borrowed suit. Cameras everywhere. He smiled. He said the right things. He did not say much. He had 3 days at the end. He had bargained for them. He had told the king with the Queen Mother's amused face hovering at his shoulder that he would do the speeches and the dinners and the long handshake. But he wanted 3 days. He wanted 3 days at his mother's house. He wanted 3 days where nobody called him special envoy. He wanted 3 days where nobody called him a hero. He wanted 3 days where his mother called him baby, and his father called him son, and the dog called him by smelling him and turning a slow circle and lying back down, because the world had been put right. The king said yes. The Queen Mother said yes before the king did. The car came up the long gravel drive in the late afternoon. The light was the kind of slant light Nebraska gets in April. Gold leaning toward orange. Wheat just up. Cottonwoods leafing out at the bottom of the property by the creek. Ruth was on the porch. She had been on the porch all day. He knew. Calvin had told him on the long-range call last week. He'd said your mother's been on the porch since Tuesday. She comes inside to sleep and to eat, and then she goes back. She's wearing a path on those boards. The car stopped. Eli got out. He stood by the car for a long second, because she had not run yet. She was standing at the top of the porch steps with her hand on the rail. She was wearing the apron with the small blue flowers. Her hair was pinned up. She was crying. She was not moving. She was waiting for him to come to her. He understood. He understood that she was afraid that if she moved, she would fall. He walked across the gravel. He walked up the porch steps. 1, 2, 3. He came to her on the porch. He did not say anything. He put his arms around her. She made a small, high sound he had not heard since he was very small. She held him. She held him. She held him for a long minute that lasted a long time. Then she said into his shoulder, "You smell different." "I know." "You smell like flowers I don't know." "I know." "You came home." "I came home, Mama." "You promised." "I kept it." "You kept it different." "I kept it different." Calvin came out of the screen door behind her. He stood for a moment with his hands hanging at his sides. He was not the kind of man who knew what to do with his hands when he was not using them. Eli understood that. He had inherited it. Calvin walked up. He put one hand on Eli's shoulder. He squeezed once. He said, "Son." He said, "Proud of you." It was the second time in Eli's life that his father had said, "Proud of you." The first time had been the day they had pulled the calf that should not have lived. Eli had been 11. They had been up to their elbows in cold and blood, and his father had said the words once and never again until now. Eli could not speak. His father did not require speech. His father, having said the thing, turned and walked back into the house to give them a minute. Calvin Whitlock. That was who his father was. Scout came around the side of the porch. He was slow. He was so slow. Eli watched him come and felt his chest open. The dog stopped at the bottom of the porch step. He looked up. He sniffed. He had to think about it. He had to put it together. Then he did. Then he made the small whuffing sound he had made when Eli was 4 years old and had come home from his first day of kindergarten and Scout had been a puppy. He tried to climb the porch step. He could not. Eli walked down to him. He knelt. He put his face in the dog's fur. The dog smelled like dust and warm porch and old age and home. He stayed like that for a long time. Ruth watched from the top of the steps. She did not interrupt. She knew about boys and dogs. That evening they sat on the porch, the four of them. 3 humans, 1 dog. Ruth had set out a plate of tomato sandwiches, the good kind. White bread, mayonnaise, salt fresh, sliced brandy wines from the side garden. The first ones of the year. She had been saving them. She had not said so. He could tell. He ate 3. Calvin had a beer. Eli had a beer. Ruth had iced tea. Scout had a piece of bread he should not have had, and that Ruth pretended not to see. They did not talk about it. That was the gift. They did not talk about 8 blades, or a marketplace, or a child with pale blue fur, or a queen mother across 40 light years, or a man named Krell in a cold cell. They talked about the tomatoes. They talked about the fence by the south pasture. They talked about whether the Romas were coming in early this year. They talked about the way the wind had been wrong all winter and was right now. He realized around the second beer what they were doing. They were giving him Nebraska back. They were giving him the small life he had left and never thought he would have again. He looked at his mother's face in the porch light, her hair coming down a little from the pins, the lines around her eyes deep with smiling. He thought, this is what I almost lost. He thought this is what I came back for. He thought this is what every other small person has that they take for granted because they have not almost lost it. He set his hand on the porch rail. He let the wind move through the wheat. He listened to it, the way you listen to a person you love. The next morning, Elena came. She had stayed in New Geneva for the official meetings. She had taken the late shuttle. She arrived in a rental that was too small for her overnight bag and the long, flat box she was carrying. She walked up the gravel drive with the box. Ruth saw her from the porch first. Ruth came down the steps and across the lawn and met Elena halfway and held out her hands. Elena set the box down. The 2 women looked at each other. Eli watched from the porch. He had told his mother about Elena on the long-range call. He had told her in the careful way men tell their mothers about a woman who matters. He had said there's a doctor. He had said, she's good. He had said, I like her mama. He had not said anything else because there had not been anything else to say. His mother had said, bring her. He had brought her. The 2 women hugged. It was not a long hug. It was not a polite hug. It was the hug of 2 women who already knew before they met that they would be in each other's lives for a long time. Elena pulled back. Her eyes were wet. She pretended they weren't. Mrs. Whitlock. Ruth. Ruth. What's in the box, honey? Pie. You made pie. I bought pie. I don't bake. That is the right answer. They both laughed. Eli watched. He thought this is how it happens. He thought you almost die. You come home. The women who love you stand on a lawn in Nebraska, and they decide everything in the first 30 seconds. He sat down on the porch step. He smiled at nothing. Lyra came 2 months later. She came with the Queen Mother. Eli had thought it was a joke. He had thought when the message came through the long-range relay that someone was making a joke. He had read it twice. He had read it 3 times. The Queen Mother had decided to make a state visit, personal, informal, to the family that had taken in the boy who had stood. She would bring the child. They would stay 3 days. They wished to bring nothing. They wished to be received as guests, not royalty. They wished to see the wheat. Ruth had read the message over Eli's shoulder. Ruth had said, well. Ruth had said, all right then. Ruth had then calmly, and in a manner Eli had never seen her use, before taken over the entire farmhouse for 2 weeks of preparation that involved every quilt in the linen closet, 3 rounds of the good silver, and a quiet argument with the neighbor about the lend of a folding table. The car came up the gravel drive on a Tuesday. The Queen Mother stepped out of it in a pale gray traveling cloak and the same chain of small silver beads she had worn the first night Eli had seen her. Lyra stepped out behind her in a yellow sundress Nissa had clearly fought to put her in. Lyra saw the porch. Lyra saw the wheat. Lyra saw Scout coming around the side of the house. Lyra dropped her small bag and ran. She ran across the gravel and up the porch steps and into the wheat at the side of the yard. She ran with her ears swiveled flat back against her head and her small clawed feet skimming the dirt. And she laughed. She laughed the way she had laughed in the marketplace corridor when Eli had told her about Scout's 3 teeth. The bright small laugh that pulled something loose. Ruth Whitlock stood on the porch with her hand at her throat. Then, Ruth Whitlock walked down off the porch and out into the yard and held her arms out. Lyra ran back across the yard and into them. The Queen Mother watched. Eli watched the Queen Mother watching. The Queen Mother had been a queen for a long time. The Queen Mother had been a grandmother for almost as long. The Queen Mother had seen in her century many things. The Queen Mother had not before this afternoon seen a Nebraska woman in a flowered apron open her arms to a Nelvari child in a yellow sundress on a lawn outside Lincoln. The Queen Mother put one hand to her chest. Eli walked down off the porch to her. He took her arm. She let him. He led her up the steps. He sat her in the rocking chair his mother had been rocking in for as long as anyone could remember. He brought her iced tea. She drank it. She watched her great-granddaughter run with the dog across the wheat. She did not speak for almost 20 minutes. When she did, she said, "Elijah." "Yes, ma'am." "This is the most beautiful place I have ever seen." He smiled. "It's just Nebraska, ma'am." "Yes." "There's a lot of it." "Yes." "Nothing fancy." "No." "Just wheat." "Yes." "Just my mother." "Yes." She turned and looked at him. "Elijah, listen to an old woman." "Yes, ma'am." "Nothing in the universe is just." "Yes, ma'am." She turned back to the wheat. Ruth came onto the porch. 2 glasses of iced tea. One for her. One for Calvin, who was coming up from the barn wiping his hands on a rag. Ruth sat down on the porch step. Calvin sat next to her. The Queen Mother rocked. Lyra and Scout chased each other in the long grass. The 4 of them sat there. 2 women who had each in their own way raised a child to stand. 2 men, one young and one old, who had each in their own way stood next to the women. Nobody said much. The wind moved through the wheat. The wheat moved. The sky was the color of his mother's good china, held up to the light. 2 years later, they put up a statue on Nexus Station. He had not wanted them to. He had said so, repeatedly. The king had agreed it was excessive. The Queen Mother had overruled them both. The Queen Mother said, "My dear, statues are not for the man. Statues are for the next one. The next one needs to see." He did not argue with the Queen Mother. No one argued with the Queen Mother. He stood on the platform under the new white stone figure that did not really look like him. And he looked out at the crowd, and he held Elena's hand, and Lyra stood at his other side. She was 10 now, taller, her fur a deeper blue, her amber eyes the same. They unveiled it. The applause came in waves. He did not really hear it. He was looking past the crowd at the corridor where the 8 blades had come, and he was remembering a small hand in his. A young man came up to him afterward, a maintenance specialist, gray uniform, patch on the shoulder. The patch said his name. Dean Kowalski. The young man was nervous. The young man stuck out his hand and pulled it back and stuck it out again. "Sir?" "Just Eli." "Sir, Mr. Whitlock." "Sir, I wanted." "Take your time, son. You're a hero to us." "To who?" "The maintenance crew." "Oh, all over the fleet. Everybody knows. We talk about you in the break room. We talk about you when the officers don't see us. We say if Whitlock did it. We say." He could not finish. Eli put a hand on the young man's shoulder. "Dean." "Yes, sir." "The uniform doesn't define you." "No, sir." "It never did." "No, sir. What you do when nobody's looking. That's the thing." "Yes, sir. You hold a door for the frightened kid. You pick up a fallen tray. You speak up when something's wrong. That's the thing. That's the only thing." "Yes, sir." "You hear me, Dean?" "I hear you, sir." He squeezed the young man's shoulder once and let him go. He watched him walk away into the crowd in the gray uniform. He stood there for a long minute under the white stone figure that did not really look like him. Elena slid her hand back into his. Lyra put her arms around his waist. His mother and the Queen Mother stood behind them in the front row. 2 old women in good shoes, holding each other's hands. The way they had been holding each other's hands since the afternoon on the porch. He thought my heart beat sideways. He thought it has always beat in the right direction. He thought Mama was right. He thought Daddy was right. He thought the small one is the only one. He thought every single time the sky over Nexus Station was full of the lights of 100 ships from 100 worlds. All of them docked safely. All of them at peace, at least for tonight. He held the hand of the woman he loved. He held the daughter of a princess who had asked him for his name. He stood the way he had been taught to stand. He stood.